Good morning, it's February 9th, and this is To My Liberal Friends. We're a nation divided, and we have to find some common ground politically if we're to resolve some of the pressing problems facing us. In the State of the Union, Joe Biden again called for unity, and then he continues to use derogatory language towards anyone that does not agree with his policies. Over and over, we hear him refer to MAGA Republicans in the most insulting and vile tone. He's also tone deaf to any criticism of his policies and somehow sees himself as the great savior of the nation. If you listen to Joe Biden, everything that could possibly be wrong in a country was present when he took office. He blames the high deficits. He blames inflation. He blames high gas prices, and all of it is Donald Trump's fault. None of this is his fault, and none of this was incurred by the policies he directed to be enacted. According to Joe Biden, inflation was already high when he took office, but the facts say something different. In January of 2021, inflation was at 1.4%. It crept up to 1.7% in February and then started taking off from there. Either he does not understand basic economics or he simply chooses to ignore them. But if you pump an additional trillions of dollars into the economy, then inflation is soon to follow. That's exactly what he and the Democratic Congress have done. When he assumed office, he declared war on the fossil fuel industry, saying that he wanted to put them out of business. Then in his State of the Union, he bemoans that the oil and gas industry is not investing in new drilling and refining capacity. First he wants to put them out of business, then he sees what's happening, he wants them to pour more money into the industry. Which is it, Mr. President? In the State of the Union, he said that we will need fossil fuels for the next decade. Well, that would be news to just about every expert in the field, even those that strongly support solar and wind, because they know that we will be dependent on fossil fuels for the next several decades and probably beyond that. It will take some major breakthrough technologically for us to create enough renewable energy to power the nation. He also referenced in his speech that nobody would see a tax increase if they're making $400,000 or less. Well, that would be news according to the Joint Committee on Taxation. According to JCT, in 2023, taxes will increase by $16.7 billion on American taxpayers earning less than $200,000, a nearly $17 billion tax targeted solidly at low and middle-income earners next year amid stagflation. According to the JCT data, 98% of all tax returns filed by those in the $200,000 to $500,000 category are filed by those earning between $200,000 and $400,000, with at least three-fourths of the income of those in that category also coming for those below $400,000, meaning it's likely that at least half of all new tax revenue raised next year would come from those earning under $400,000. Do you hear that, Mr. President? I don't think you got a clue about how it works. Throughout the 10-year window of a normal budget cycle, the average tax rate for nearly every single income category would increase. By 2031, when the new green energy credits and subsidies provide an even greater benefit to those at higher incomes, those earning below $400,000 are projected to bear as much as two-thirds of the burden of the additional tax revenue collected that year in 2031. Biden's promised a great soundbite as he pitches taxing higher income people, but the reality is that everyone's going to see more taxes. In the State of the Union, again, Biden turned to the liberal populist line of demanding that corporations pay more in taxes. He's wanted to raise the corporate tax rate to 28%. Now, if you recall, it was previously at 34%, and in 2017 tax bill, it was reduced to 21%. Even his former boss, Barack Obama, recognized the problem with the higher rate, proposed it to be cut to 22%. Obama saw what was happening and knew he had to take some form of action. Corporations were moving their tax status overseas. Here's a couple examples. In Ireland, the corporate rate is 12.5%. In England, it's 17%. In Germany, that rate is 15%. And Italy comes in at a whopping 24%. It does not take a genius to realize that companies can save a lot of money by simply moving their headquarters to another country. But again, it's a good soundbite for his base, and so he goes to it when he needs to get the applause he wants. Finally, he went after fees that airlines and other companies charge, calling them junk fees. Now he has to understand that they're keeping the cost of a plane ticket down by charging fees. But this is a populist message aimed for the people listening to the speech and not Congress. You can cut the fees and they'll simply raise the price of a ticket. It's that simple. You probably noticed that he said nothing about China's aggressive intelligence gathering. You have to wonder why that was omitted. Not a word about the balloon that traversed the entire country gathering intelligence. Not a word about the information that has since come out that other balloons have been detected not only in the United States, but around the world. And it makes you wonder why he's unwilling to fully confront the Chinese government. In the next 2 years, we will see very little get done in the form of congressional action because the House is controlled by Republicans and the Senate by Democrats. I keep hoping they will learn to cooperate, negotiate, and compromise, but that may be a pipe dream on my part. Biden will try to govern by his pen and executive order, and that is simply not the way it should be done in a democracy. And he talks about threats to our democracy all the time without realizing that he is engaging in one of the largest threats to democracy. He's acting like he's the king. This has been To My Liberal Friends. Thanks for listening. And if you enjoy the podcast, hit the subscribe button. Thank you.